Hello, welcome to Grant Wearne's Whiteboard Reviews. Today we are reviewing Chip and Dale's Rescue Ranger. Or if you're a kid like me from the 90s, you remember it as Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers, Chip and Dale's when there's danger. And that's all I remember from my 4-year-old childhood of the 90s. The rest is kind of a blur. Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers came out last Friday on Disney Plus exclusively. And it's starring celebrities like Andy Samberg, John Mulaney, Seth Rogen, Keegan-Michael Key, and many other celebrities like J.K. Simmons. The plot is quite simple. It's the current days. Chip and Dale are washed-up actors from the 90s after their heyday in the 90s, where they had one of the highest-rated animated TV shows. But they have to be friends again because their friend Monterey Jack, yes, that's his real name, Monterey Jack, had suddenly disappeared, and they're going on an investigation to find out where he is. And they unravel this big conspiracy theory that's happening to all cartoons. And my expectations overall for the movie were really high. I was really looking forward to it. You got John Mulaney, Andy Samberg, you have great writers, you have the director of The Lonely Islands. So these are people that lived in the 90s and captured all the animation and all of its beauty. And I was really looking forward to it, and I was thinking to myself, they are the people that need to direct this movie. And I was really looking forward to it. And so, what did we get? Let's find out. So let's start off with the pros. So, if you are in love with animation, whether it's from the old Mickey Mouse cartoons from the 20s to present day animation and anime, they have great deep cut jokes. There's some jokes out there that if you remember from the 90s or the 80s or present day, they have it. Deep cut jokes. For example, I don't mean to spoil it, but there was a reference to Sonic 2019's trailer. If you remember, in 2019 there was a Sonic trailer where the animation was so bad they sent the movie back into production, had him reanimated, and they referenced Ugly Sonic as a character. And he's one of the highlights of the films. And like I said, many animation tributes. So many. If you were from the 90s, they have tributes. If you're from the 2000s, they have tributes. If they were from the 70s, they have tributes. Everyone, everywhere got their tributes. And another pro was the chemistry. Great chemistry. Chemistry between John Mulaney and Andy Samberg was perfect. John Mulaney delivered the dry humor while Andy Samberg delivered the doofus, yet adorable doofus of the dynamic duo that they had. And it was just truly fun. I really enjoyed it. They had good button-off chemistry. You can tell there was tension between them and that they had to resolve that tension because they had to help a friend who was in need. And then lastly, they captured the Hollywood lifestyle, but for animation. So you hear about those stories about big actors in the 80s and 90s and how they get kind of washed up and they either quit their acting career and go into law, or they go into working an insurance claim, or some of them try to grasp onto that fame that they once had and go into conventions, charging for photos. That is exactly what happens there. And they capture that Hollywood lifestyle, but for animation. And it's like, what happens when cartoons go into debt? What happens when cartoons suffer from addiction? For example, their friend Monterey Jack, he has an addiction to cheese, and they treat it as a drug addiction. And though dark, it is pretty funny. So the cons. So my cons are actually very simple. So my one big concern was it was too short. It was only an hour and a half. And I can tell that they wrote this for adults. And I feel like since they're writing for adults, the attention span was much more greater. They could have definitely stretched it out to an hour 45, maybe hour 50. But they chose to do the hour and a half because I guess it's a kid's property, but the jokes were all written for adults. It was just, but not in the inappropriate way, in the deep cut way. Needed more references. I expected more references because they had every company in there. They had Fox, they had Disney, they had DreamWorks, they had plenty of companies giving their characters IPs, Warner Brothers, but they weren't really basking in those references as much as they should. The most they do is just a character in the background. For example, you see a Transformer walking in the background, or you'd see Batman in the background. But I feel like if they're there, I feel like they should be making more of a presence or make more comedic, And, with the comedic minds of John Mulaney, Andy Samberg, and The Lonely Islands, I expected more jokes because I've listened to Andy Samberg and John Mulaney. They are great at delivering joke after joke after joke. So I don't know what was the issue there. I felt like they were missing that joke after joke after joke that they're known for. Maybe they had some cut. Maybe some of them were maybe they just were held back by Disney corporate, but I feel like it was a missed opportunity. So that leads me to my overall score. So, what would I review Chip and Dale's Rescue Ranger? Well, if you're an animation fan and you have a huge love for animation, or if you just remember childhood nostalgia watching cartoons as a kid, they reference everything. I feel like it is a great comedy. There's some really good jokes that are worth the watch. I'd say it's worth a one-time watch, and so I'd give this an overall score of 7 out of 10. So I would highly encourage you to watch it, because for all I know, it might get big enough that they might have a sequel or a follow-up. And it's something that everyone needs to see, because everyone was a kid and they watch cartoons, and they'll get something out of it.